Qatar is being hailed as the indispensable player to get to this moment, its role as a key negotiator. Let's cross there now to the capital Doha. Let's speak to Dr. Majed al-Ansari, the spokesman for the Qatari Foreign Affairs Ministry. Dr. al-Ansari, first of all, you revealed the first details of this deal. All eyes have been on the updates coming from Qatar, the work of your negotiators. Would you categorise this moment as a success?
Well, I don't know if within the parameters of the current conflict and the level of death and destruction that we are seeing right now, anything can be seen as an accomplishment or we look at it in an optimistic light. However, we can say that this is the glimmer of light at the end of a very long tunnel when it comes to finding a solution to this conflict. We have a renewed sense of optimism through the deal that resulted in the freeing of hostages and prisoners yesterday and getting them back to their families. We are hoping that this would help us build momentum so we can reach a more robust deal regarding a sustainable truce. However, it is a very long, difficult road ahead, and the work just began as the truce started. It didn't end with the agreement over having it.
Can you give us a sense, for all the France 24 viewers, of what's been going on behind the scenes, how much of a challenge it's been over days and weeks to even get to this point, and almost explain to us how negotiations works with two sides that, essentially want to annihilate the other, that wouldn't recognise the other before. So just give us a sense, if you can, of some of the background work going on here.
I can tell you that we've been working since day one on this task force assigned to work on this, led by the Prime Minister himself and the Chief Negotiator, Dr. Mohammed al-Khalifi, the Minister of State, have had so many sleepless nights, working around the clock, all days in a week without stopping at all. There's a great sense of duty over this kind of mediation. We understand that every delay that is within the mediation process means more loss of life. So the responsibility we are taking on our shoulders, we take it very seriously, and we know that every minute counts. We have been working through the operations room, which was established for the hostage negotiations. We are arranging within the operations room with our colleagues at the ICRC and both sides of this conflict to make sure that all the information goes through in real time to both sides. It's a nerve-wracking, frustrating process to even handle the simple logistics of getting the people across from one point to another, and when we feel the burden of responsibility over making sure that the hostages are taken out in a very safe environment, and that both sides, there are no breaches that might lead the deal to collapse. We're very content with what happened yesterday, but we know that the road is still difficult ahead. Our negotiators have been working since for 48 hours non-stop now, and even as early as 4 a.m. Today, we were exchanging information over what's going to happen today.
We've heard President Biden talk about the hope that this can be extended from 4 days. From your point of view, you talk about non-stop for the last 48 hours, negotiations, work going on. What is your goal at the moment? Is it to get us as far beyond the 4 days as possible and continuing this prisoner hostage exchange and ceasefire?
As I said before, we are in a very devastating conflict. The level of death and destruction is unparalleled. We are getting reports of corpses being eaten by dogs in the street, infants dying as they are moved from hospitals. So every moment certainly does count in all measures, and therefore our aim here is to make sure that these 4 days hold, and that the agreement is done, and that the agreement signifies a newfound level of, I wouldn't say trust, but at least trust-building measures between both sides that would allow for further discussions. Of course, the agreement includes a caveat for extension. That caveat is based on the Hamas side using these 4 days to get more information over the rest of the hostages, and hopefully by the end of the 4 days we'll have a second agreement that will help us extend the pause that is in effect right now. And that should give us, momentum and the catalyst that we need so we can have further discussions on a sustainable truce. The international community needs to work together. We are working with all our partners, but we need to stop this as soon as possible. The bloodshed is unbearable, and we are creating the scenes for further conflict in the future. We need to start working back from this and making sure that we find a sustainable truce that will lead to talking about peace and security for the region as we go ahead.
Let me get your take, Dr. al-Ansari, on the delicate, difficult position that you're in. You may have seen some of the questions, criticism, particularly from Republicans in the US, about how Qatar justifies the presence of Hamas on the territory after the attacks with the group considered terrorist by the US, many Western countries, and knowing that Israel is intent on eliminating every single Hamas figure. That includes those negotiating. So how do you justify that role to detractors who are opposed to you having any contact with Hamas?
We have been working as mediators between Hamas and Israel, de-escalating and averting war so many times since 2006. When we were asked by the United States to open a channel of communication with Hamas, and that led, of course, to the political office being situated here in Doha. The reason why we are successful in the mediation, the reason why those hostages are back with their families today, the reason why there's a glimmer of hope in this terrible conflict is because we have these lines of communication open. We have taken a lot of heat because of this, but this will not deter us from being mediators on this. We have a responsibility that very clearly nobody else can take at the moment when it comes to mediation between both sides. We have always said that as long as this is a channel for peace, a channel that will help us de-escalate, it will remain there. And regardless of all the misinformation, all the campaigns and accusations held against my country, this will not deter us from working towards peace.
Dr. Majed al-Ansari, great to talk to you. Thank you for coming on today on France 24, the Foreign Affairs spokesperson for the ministry in Qatar. Next to other stories.